the next keynote is people I know for many years. I'm very excited to hear them talk. We have Jessica Minnier and Ted Laderas, and they're going to be giving, as I said, Cascadia R Conf's been going on for quite a while, and they're going to be giving a retrospective on Cascadia R. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Jacqueline. I know everyone is full of lunch, so this is going to be a light talk. So anyways, just if you're in your food coma, just settle in. So just like to kind of talk about, give you an overview of the talk and just like, you know, what are the questions that we're answering with this talk? So number one, can you organize a conference with just 6 people? You might know the answer because you're sitting here, but also the thing is, like, it's really not just about those 6 organizers, it's about you, the Cascadia community. So we really, you know, want to kind of talk about, like, you know, how great all of you guys are. And then there's the question, should you volunteer for the next Cascadia R? So we called the talk Then, Now, Next. So we're mostly going to be talking about the then, but we'll talk about now and next as well. So let's talk about the past. Let's get in our time machine. So, you know, part of the origins, you know, this like really, as many things in Portland, started over talking about things over beer. And we were noticing, you know, there's a ton of R groups, you know, in the region, like PDX-R, Oregon State University, Seattle R, Vancouver R, University of Oregon, all great R groups. So over beer, we're like, how can we bring all of you together? And then, you know, once we started talking about that, you know, we started thinking, well, how do we make the conference accessible to the most people? And then we're like, oh crap, where can we hold it? So I think it's important to really talk about the values. And I think the values of this conference have really kind of grown and evolved. But when we first started, like the whole thing was, it was local R users. We didn't necessarily need big speakers. And we all have been to academic conferences and we wanted to do the opposite of that. So that included being inclusive and accessible to as many people. I think this was a great journey that we all went on, just understanding how we could make the conference available to as many people as possible. So like I said, well, in 2017, it was just 6 people. 2018, it was 7 people. So these are all of us. So especially, like, I think really, the point being is that we all did our part. It wasn't just one person leading us. We all were kind of working together. And this was kind of like, this was, you know, early days of Slack. So we were learning how to kind of organize a conference together and have do things asynchronously. So for those people who want to know what goes into organizing a conference, so there is our Trello board, it still exists. You can see what the poll plan is. If you don't know what a poll plan is, it means you're starting at the deadline and you're working backwards. So we basically put one together the second year. We learned our lesson. So everyone did their part. So what goes into a conference? So there's kind of the usual stuff. And then, you know, you want to make it more accessible to as many people as possible. So, and then you want to make it safe for as many people as possible. Snacks and beer. This is a very important thing. We got a lot of feedback on snacks and beer. We want people to kind of have a good time. We need a bartender. We wanted it to be accessible to as many people. So we wanted childcare and then recording and making it available online. So we were crazy. We did this in 2.5 months, and I cannot believe that this happened and it managed to work, but it did. So this is just me tooting my own horn because I had to beg as faculty at Oregon Health and Science University to get access to this amazing med school student classroom. I'll show you a picture of that in a little bit. Nice thing was tons of outlets, fast internet. We knew that was important. And basically me begging events people that we wouldn't trash the place and, you know, getting all the right permits and everything like that. So that was the pain that I went through. It was worth it for all of you. So you might wonder how talks get picked. So this is how we did it. We basically kind of had everyone kind of give scores. We looked at aggregate scores, and everyone to the right of this basically got a talk. So this is the sausage making part of the conference organizing. So what happened on the big day? It was chaos, but in a good way. We got through registration, which I wasn't convinced we would. We were doing crazy things like we were updating the site day of with all of the links and everything. We did the workshops, and then we ended the day with lightning talks and free beer. So we had some great keynotes, and the lesson we learned is it doesn't hurt to ask. You know, I think Gabriela de Quiros, if you know her, she was one of the founders of Our Ladies Global. Allison Hill, you know, former colleague of ours at OHSU, gave a great talk about being brave about learning R. And then Kara Wu, who also gave a wonderful talk. So I think this is one of our legacies, is really the workshops. We really wanted them to be homegrown and you know, done by local R people. So we had basically, so Chester, Ismay, and I did the gradual introduction to the tidyverse. And then you know, Charlotte Wickham, yes, the Wickham family, you know who the Wickham family is. She did a great workshop on PER. And then like the next year we did some deep learning and then R with databases. But I think it's one of these things that we all struggle with, which is imposter syndrome. So we also had a panel, and people just, you know, people who were like new and experts, like talking about what they were struggling with in terms of imposter syndrome and like, you know, understanding, you know, your role in data science. This was another activity we did. So it was basically Tidy Tuesday in person. So we took, and we were friends with Tom, like, you know, this was one of those things. He was like, yeah, you guys should do this. We took the Nike Bike Town data and we had, it wasn't a competition. It was more like, you know, we want everyone to share their visualizations, and like, it was kind of a competition because people were voting. You can see all of the stickers that people were using to vote on particular visualizations. Again, accessibility, childcare, travel scholarships, student tickets. So we wanted the conference to be accessible to everyone. Amazingly, we managed to do this while balancing the budget. We didn't ask for very much the first year. I think it was like $25. So, and we had no sponsors. So this was really homegrown. So beer, painful logistically, but definitely worth it. So there's, you know, when you're at a university, you have to make promises like, you know, your firstborn, all of this stuff. We're not going to make a mess, but I think it was worth it because one of the things we noticed at the conference, people didn't want to leave at the end. People were still chatting afterwards. I think that was a sign that was, you know, we were doing our job. So Jess is going to take over.
So just to give you an idea about what those first couple years were like, who was there, we actually for both years had about 250 people, which the first year obviously were shocked at that and really excited. A lot of people came from a lot of different places, mostly, so both years were in Portland. We had a lot of Oregonians, we had a lot of Washington people, but we had some outliers, San Francisco and then 1,000 miles away, we were trying to guess maybe Southern California. So I think having a mostly local community, but still reaching the broader West area was great. And then this is all from the surveys that we asked after each conference, and we noticed that we had a good amount of kind of early career and students, so the true learners of the groups, but mid-career, senior, second career, those people are interested in learning as well, and that's kind of why I'm here as well. And we had some unemployed people who are just trying to get their foot in the door or like reinvent themselves, which was great. We always welcome all different skill sets. And also it's just interesting to note, and we can see this in the talks today, that it's not just academia. We have a good representation from industry and tech, healthcare, finance, business, and our bioinformatics side of things. So that's always really nice, but we do have a good amount of research and students and education related folks as well. And just to highlight some of the talks that we remembered, just to show you kind of the diversity in topics, we had some more research and health-based talks. We had a developer experience from Amelia that was more on the industry side. And we had Dan Anderson, who was more on the education side, talking about how to contribute to open source with pretty slides. So kind of running the gamut there. And then we also, back then, Sparkly R was a very new thing. So learning about new tools that are kind of front and center of all our minds was useful. And then lightning talks, there's gonna be some lightning talks today that everyone loves those. It's really fun to just learn something really quickly. Just to highlight two of them, we had on the one side, this is kind of a very statistical minded talk, but it was brilliant to be able to convey ANOVA concepts in 5 minutes. And then we had our Jacqueline talk, was kind of hilarious in a sense, as you can imagine. So learning how to use R for offensive license plates was fascinating. So kind of setting the tone, you get both kind of serious, less serious, but equally interesting. And just highlighting the fact that this is our community, we're meeting people, we're making friends, people are stepping up to organize future conferences. And these were some friends that we've made that we still talk to today, and some of them are here, which is wonderful. And so how was the conference in terms of kind of the hard data of those surveys? Overall, pretty positive. There's always some constructive comments, which we really appreciate. So fill out your surveys, because we definitely take that feedback into account. I think one was better snacks. I think that was the negative snack.
Yeah.
One.
Just to emphasize though, you never see a Likert plot like this where it's almost all positive.
Yes.
So we were
weighted.
blown away by that.
Yeah. And yeah, so great to see that overall the feedback was really positive. And for both years as well. And so like Ted said, the workshops were both really kind of desired aspect of the conference and something that we worked hard to achieve. It's a really logistically challenging thing to do. You have to ask someone to talk for hours and teach something. And it's a lot of work on both sides, the learners and the teachers, but I know people really appreciate that. So that was a hard thing and a good thing that we were able to pull off. And then just in terms of some feedback comments, overall, people were just so excited. I think having that conference as a new thing where everyone could come together was just really exciting for most people. And it was cheap and everyone liked that. The one-day thing persisting, that's a really nice aspect of it. And the schedule just being on a Saturday and local to most people in a way. And people liked coffee. Which we all do. This was 10 out of 10 for enchantment. I thought it was 11 out of 10 actually.
Oh, there's another.
Oh, there's another 11. Right. And having childcare, lactation rooms, that kind of thing. I think that also was useful and well appreciated. And it allowed at least a few people to come that wouldn't have been able to. And having a nice venue that is easily accessible for people, I think that is an important aspect of it. Having a code of conduct, having kind of an opportunity to network with people, especially if you're trying to get in the door of analytics or data science. I think that's just having more opportunities for that is really important. And more kind of patting ourselves on the back. We did a great job, we know, but just to show you that everyone was so supportive and we were really appreciative of that, and making it more accessible, affordable, especially the students appreciated that. Oh, there's 11 out of 10. I thought we did better than that. And hopefully that person did attend in future years. And so what did we learn from our couple years of organizing and seeing the conferences blossom in the future years? Volunteers are so important. So thank you to everyone that volunteers. I mean, there were 6 organizers, but on the day of, you need a lot more people to make everything happen. Somehow we made it very cost effective by making it more homegrown conference. Workshops are take work, but are generally well received. And our community has amazing speakers. Like all the talks today were so wonderful and so different. And I think encouraging people who wouldn't otherwise talk at a conference, I think is a really kind of good goal to have. And the conference is all about the people that show up and that are making that community amazing. And then Legacy of Cascadia R, I think a lot of us have met each other at these conferences. We brought local R users together. I think it's important, and this has maintained the commitment to diversity and inclusion and accessibility. And then just the legacy of the materials. We have the workshop materials. There's talks that will be recorded. Some of the talks from previous workshops have been recorded, not a lot of them, but there's some out there. And just have it, again, accessibility in various different ways. And there's always more ways to make that better. And so now, that's the now, and then how is it evolving? I think it's obviously things have changed because we had a strange couple years there in the middle. But the first year, this was Portland. Then we had Seattle in 2019. And then there was 2020, we'll talk about that later. 2021 was virtual, and then 22 was virtual too. And 2023 is now here. And so there was that middle period where we had 2020 planned. I think I was supposed to give a workshop even. It was going to be at University of Oregon. And that unfortunately did not happen. So maybe one day we'll make it back there. That would be amazing. But I think we obviously we all learned something from this experience and going through the pandemic. The virtual conference, while can be tiresome, is also just really useful and a really great way to make things more accessible. So there were a couple of years that were virtual. And then thinking about how we're using that to maintain our community throughout this very difficult time. And despite that kind of decentralization of information, as we talked about, Twitter used to be a wonderful place to be centralized, to learn new things, and now it's been scattered. And then just the isolation of the pandemic, not coming to work, not seeing people. So it's really great to be here again, but I think having those virtual conferences really connected that path and was a lifeline for most of us. And again, having this hybrid situation, I think there's about 100 of you here now, but I saw something like 50 something on the internet right now, the virtual side of things. Actually, 44 people. And that I think is really wonderful, having the Slack channel, and if it's done well, there's ways to kind of have this online networking as well. And so hopefully we can keep that going. Of course, we do still want to have a code of conduct for both virtual and in-person aspects of things, and keeping everything an enjoyable experience for everybody. And then I wanted to say, I put this quote in from John David Smith, who was one of the original organizers. I just thought it was nice about the value of, quote, seeing the community is that all the different threads can come together. People who may not have recognized each other as partners all of a sudden had a common purpose. So we're all from different backgrounds. We're all from different futures. We're all here just learning together, which I think is wonderful. So next, what's going to happen?
Yep. So, well, I can page through this. So like our original goal was got the conference the hell out of Portland, manage that. We want to make sure that the values that we talked about at the very beginning were upheld, manage that. Encouraging participation from everyone. Like, there's part of the reason why we talked about that talk about Amy, about her frustrations with ANOVA. She was a very much a beginner, but she was just talking about her experiences. And that's the kind of talks that we really want, like, to see from people, not just the experts, like, talking about your experience with R. And then, I think this has been a learning journey, is really understanding how to increase the accessibility and, encourage people who might not normally think the conference is for them, and just like continuing to reach out and expanding things. I mean, I have to say, on a personal note, this is something that, sparked my interest in like making things more accessible. And it's been I've learned so much from the other organizers about that. And it's been a really rewarding journey for me. So we had questions at the beginning. So here's the answers. So can you organize a group with just conference with just 6 people? Yeah, you can, but you need the help of the community. Who is a Cascadia audience? So I'm just going to do a warm fuzzy. You all are talented people who do amazing things. Should you volunteer for the next Cascadia R? Yes, you should. And what is that ggplot2 Barbie theme that we have? So it's actually from a, there's a theme called Theme Barbie, and it's from this package called Theme Park. There's a link to it if you want to use it. We're just so grateful that this conference has continued beyond us. And thank you to all of the sponsors. We just mentioned a few here, but like there have been many, and we appreciate all of you and your support. We want to just thank all of the organizers, past and present. Like, I think it takes a lot of work to get a conference like this up and going every year. So we just want to express our gratitude. And we're grateful for all of you guys, just amazing. And like all of the other slides today, I think this was made with Quarto as well. So that's it. That's all we have.